Guys, real quickly before we start this episode, I just want to tell you can see me in Stamford, Connecticut. You can see me in West Nyack. These are all dates on my website, yannispapascomedy.com. You can see me in Bakersfield, California, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Toronto, Ontario, and more. So go to yannispapascomedy.com for tickets. Also, for the people that get it, if you want to support the show, we're a very small show, patreon.com/Yannis Pappas Hour. Patreon.com/Yannis Pappas Hour. Go there, support the show. You know how the world works. We need money for the budget to do this show. So if you want to support, you also get a bonus episode when you do it. Now enjoy this episode about extremists. Well, hello there, fellow citizens. I want to come up with my own Mr. Rogers. Hi, my friends. Hello, fellow citizens of the United States of America, sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters of immigrants and so on and so forth, nativists with nativist beliefs, radicals, moderates, silent majority, left, right, gay, straight, all walks of faith. I assume everyone's tuning in, and eavesdroppers from intelligence agencies and citizens from other countries around the world who have a penchant for American, I guess I can call it underground entertainment, niche entertainment, cult entertainment. You like what you like. You, my friend, I know psychologically love discovery. If you like this show, you're probably a little bit of a snob. You know, you don't like mainstream stuff. You hate popular stuff. You're radicalized against popular stuff. You go, ooh, you love that Matt Rife stuff. Everyone only likes him because he's good looking. No, he's also charming. He's also funny to a lot of people. The world's not supposed to be molded in your image. Unfortunately, I think that's what radicals ultimately come to the conclusion of. That's the conclusion they come to, I think, is the world needs to think like me. The world needs to be molded in my image. And that's just what I believe. And I have to go out into the world and evoke and emote my barbaric yelp of justice onto others. And unfortunately, some radicals have made a difference. They have changed the course of history. You can interject yourself into the narrative of America with how leaky your roof is on occasion. If you have the right leak at the right time, you can be someone who goes down in the history books. Unfortunately, and in America, we like to celebrate the famous no different than we celebrate the infamous. It's a little weakness we have. It's something we like to call I'm seen. Americans like to celebrate being seen. And if they can't get seen one way and they're determined enough, they will get seen another way. And there's a whole spectrum in between the most extreme version of that, which is, you know, the way we know of David Chapman Harris or whatever his name is. But that's how you'll be known, you know? That's how you'll be known. Nobody remembers the name of the guy who shot Reagan, which shows progress. There was no big movies made about it, you know? That shows progress because we all know who Wilkes Booth is. We all know who Luigi is. But we are radicalized. Now you're going, is this the internet? Not just the internet, because obviously this has happened throughout history. Radicals rise. I think desperation and a dry beak is probably the highest suspect on the list. A dry beak is always the prime suspect. You throw in a dry beak with a leaky roof and American culture. We can't pretend that what just happened to Charlie Kirk is not American, but it's also not exclusively American. But you can't lie and say, okay, this is an anomaly. I mean, let's put the equation on paper. At a school, talking to kids, what do kids have? Lots of raging hormones, lots of emotions, debating ideas. Everyone thinks they're right. It's the narcissism of youth. We've all been there. We've all had it. lack of humility. You think you can change the world. You're full of testosterone. You're full of energy. You feel like you're the guy that can do it. The only ironic thing is it seems like at this point, the guy that did it was a low T boomer. Was a kid who ironically, if he was on some tea, might have lifted his depression a little bit. We're talking about someone who's probably pretty close to a woman as far as tea levels go. He looks like a boomer. He looks like a socks and sandals boomer. I'm stereotyping because stereotypes are only mostly true. And that's the problem. But also the solution, when you want to do a lot of shortcut thinking and you don't got a lot of time, you usually just resort to mostly true stereotypes. And then when you leave, you can say stereotypes aren't mostly true. But in emergencies, you want to go with the mostly true mantra. And this is an emergency. I saw they had some suspected shooter pinned to the ground. And undoubtedly there is a Polaroid album somewhere from the 70s where the kid had male pattern baldness and also hair down to the top of his butt. There's no question the kid dabbled in psychedelics. There's no question the kid liked to eat pussy with full muff. There's no question the guy was at Woodstock or whatever local festival mirrored it, whatever satellite festival mirrored it. There's no question he is a deeply, deeply, deeply fundamentalist zealot. He's a deeply committed fundamentalist zealot for just rights and equality and anti-government. And, you know, there's no question this guy doesn't vacation in Ghana, not to lay on the beach, but to help. What do we know about him? Maybe I'm wrong. He's obviously a Democrat, they say. And, I mean, he's a boomer. He's in his 60s, obviously, or his 70s. Boomers are in their 70s now, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So he looks like he's in his 70s or late 60s, not early 60s, right? Or he could be in his early 60s, and I'm wrong. He's a generation after boomer because I'm measuring it on a John Stamos 60. So you ever see a normal person 60? It often looks like that. Right. So, I mean, his pants are down around his ankles, which means he doesn't believe, he's probably a animal rights activist who doesn't believe in using leather for belts. Hemp belts don't hold up too good, unfortunately. And they're carrying him away. 2 officers that look like they're going to have back problems after doing this. I mean, there's got to be a certain standard of strength from our officers of law. And those 2 guys just don't look. I mean, one of them looks like if Bert Kreischer had a mini-me. And the other guy also looks like he should be about 15 years past retirement. So it's what happened. Charlie Kirk was shot. At this point, there's reports he's stable. I don't know how that might happen. But it's another horrible murder. We just watched one in North Carolina where apparently... you know, what can you say, dude? What can you say about the murder in North Carolina except for NATO? What are you doing? No, all right. I mean, look, are we going to blame NATO or are we not? I mean, this Ukrainian girl got attacked. NATO, what are you doing? Listen to what Putin says. No. It's a horrible case of someone who should have been behind bars. But this is all part of the cherry picking. This is all part of if there's a video of the crime. I think that's a big part in it, right? I mean, Ray Rice would have still played football if there was no elevator camera, right? Because everyone would have been able to put their own views on the situation. When there's a video of it, it's harder. That's the whole point. You know, and that's the thing with being a outspoken person or someone who's a pundit or whatever. You say your opinions, but then people put their own stuff on it. Same thing with a video, right? The video evidence. people put their own, if they can see you and you're out there and they know your face, they put their own thing on it, right? This guy probably looked like some guy, Charlie Kirk looked like some guy that this guy had a fist fight with in the 50s, and he just focuses on Charlie Kirk. And we're all haunted by these trauma ghosts that project themselves onto other things. When you don't go get your roof checked to figure out what's really going on. There's no reason to go out and murder, but it's usually a narcissistic reason why the individual person does it. They claim it's some big cause, but it's usually something for them, right? And then other people put their causes on it. Some people are going to be saying now, well, he deserved it because he's so divisive and he says that. And other people are going to go, you see, the left. When really you just got two people doing things for reasons that happened within their own home when they were children. And both of them need to get their roofs checked. One, because he's a danger to society through violence, which we've seen. And the other one, because, you know, he's just wants attention a lot. I bet you his dad was maybe very argumentative or something. We all have these reasons. None of this is a reason for violence. None of this is a reason to hate. When you go get your roof check, you just gain more of an understanding of why you are the way that you are. And that is not top priority. And it needs to become top priority because the leaks are everywhere. There's water in the basement. Everyone's becoming radicalized. What are radicals? Like, again, I'll say it's not just the internet, although the internet speeds it up. The TikTok algorithm speeds it up. But radicals are people who feel not privileged, out of it, find other people who also feel similar, link up on a cause, and then talk past each other and vibe on the emotion of belonging and yell at other people on the other side who are talking past them, because radicals are wrapped up in emotion. They have simple solutions for complex problems, and when the very last string is broken in their roof, they resort to the worst to try to have a solution. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I sort of do. So this is just two very public things that are triggering two very percolating problems in America right now. And first of all, heart goes out to Charlie Kirk's family and him. This should not be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing, but it is, and it will continue to be. Everyone's strapped to the nines. Everyone's angry, and everyone's roof seems a little leaky. Everyone is talking to machines and getting echo chamber algorithms, and this is just accelerating division and confusion. So people just want to be seen, unfortunately. And that's why I said things the way I just said them, is because nobody wants to just have a private life anymore. It's not enough. People don't feel successful if they just have a private life. If they're only important to a few people, it feels like depression. People are mistaking attention for truth right now. Right? Truth doesn't matter as long as, like, if you go there, well, there's an audience of people listening. It's almost like they don't care anymore. They just don't care. So they keep going and they keep doubling down and they keep, you know, as long as the attention is coming in, they're saying whatever, they're whatever. They're just going for it. And it's going into the people's brains who are want to be seen, want to have an effect, want to be relevant. And we're at that stage right now where you're going, all right, at least we're a democracy. People disagree. But this is, I mean, what do you say? This is not new. We can't act like this is like a surprise. And it's not new to America only. I mean, you go to China, there's no debate happening on college campuses, but the government over there does what just happened. We are a country of the people, where the people can also commit violence. Because at the end of the day, that's what a democracy is. We're all power-seeking maggots who just want to be able to enact violence, to feel powerful. So the people can do that here. People can't do that in China. They can try, but they'll die miserably. Here, it can happen. Here, everyone has the capacity. And we have to deal with it. And so, in conclusion, I just want to say, before I move on to lighter topics for the rest of my life, don't do this. This is bad. If you don't like Charlie Kirk, you should be vocal about how bad this is. I don't think yelling "Free Luigi" is a good thing. I think you should focus on the healthcare changes. I don't think murdering a guy is the way to go. I think having a calm discussion about understanding some of the points he made is fine, but you cannot glorify a murderer. That's not what we can do. You can't resort to violence because that's a breakdown. That's a weakness. You got to win arguments. You have to make better points. That's just how it goes in a civilized society. So we've had some assassinations now. Seems like they're ramping up. I don't think people are quite yet putting it together, but in the last couple of years, there's been 3 high-profile assassination attempts. One of a CEO, one of a highly visible right-wing commentator, and the other one of a presidential candidate. 3 high-profile assassination attempts. So all 3 of these assassination attempts come from people who probably share the same ideology. You can't help but notice it's coming from the left. It just is. It just is coming from the left, which means the left is feeling desperate. They're feeling that they can't appeal to the masses. They're lost in some delusion that the left has been pitching for so long now, that everyone's a Nazi and they're beyond reach, and you have there's a level of desperation, right? The system can't be, once you go, the system can't be changed unless you resort to violence. That means you've given up hope, and you have a very cynical view of normal people, just regular normal people. And that's where we're at. It was a very vicious thing, and again, there's a video of it, which is going to, which makes it worse. Which always makes it worse, right? It's like the Epstein birthday letter and the pictures that are now everyone is seeing, right? Once you show it, even supporters of Donald Trump are just, you have a tough time with it. Right, you have a tough time defending it, saying it's a Democratic hoax, saying it's a narrative that the Democrats are spinning, which surprisingly still was tough to pull off, because the Republicans were the ones who were clamoring the most for the release of more information. But still, he was able to move goalposts and, I don't know, placate plausible deniability by saying it's not my signature. But then the estate released it with a whole bunch of other stuff in the birthday book. a lot of which is disturbing. Have you seen the other pictures? Yeah. And so once you see it, it's tough, right? It's like, that's tough. That's the tough thing. But there's the other one. That's Jeffrey Epstein when he's 1983, grooming the young girls, giving them balloons, and then rubbing him down. And what a great country. There's a lot. There's another one with a guy holding a check that was made out to Jeffrey Epstein from Donald Trump. And the handwritten note underneath says, Jeffrey, can you make it bigger? Because I know the paraphrase, but I want to get it right. Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women, sells fully depreciated, in quotes, fully depreciated, obviously the next word is girl, or the name, right? Fully depreciated girl to Donald Trump for $22,500, showing early people skills, in quotes, too. What does the rest say?
It's hard to make out.
Yeah.
Thought I wanted the deal.
Thought I won't
get any of the
money or the girl.
Or the girl.
Now, obviously a joke, but then when you find out the person they're joking about ended up being a pedophile sex trafficker, obviously very suspicious.
Har.
It's hard to say at this point that he barely knew the guy, which was a tough sell before, but people were still sort of, they loved the deportation so much. They loved the tough talk so much. They were still holding on to it. It's just a hard sell now, right? It's a hard sell. And now Donald Trump and his most cult-like supporters are saying that they're not denying that the letter is fake, but they're saying the signatures is a forgery. So that's all they got right now, which is tough. When you pull up simple things like this, it's tough. And when you just know that they were close friends, which they were. They were close friends. Okay? They had a model event for young models at Mar-a-Lago where only Epstein was invited. It was just two of them and girls. Hard to say you hardly knew the guy. So it's just where we're at right now. There's a lot of things people are seeing that might ironically bring people together. They're like, oh, look, we can all, unless we all have some sort of reason. It's fun to watch. It's interesting to see how much bullshit people will believe. That's interesting to see. It's always interesting to see how much bullshit people will believe, not just with this, but with the murder in North Carolina. It's like the guy was saying afterwards, I got that white girl. Yes, he's schizophrenic, but how much empathy? How much empathy can you have? Everyone does killings for certain reasons. How far do you go with the empathy? How far? How far do you go? How far do you go in keeping the blinders on and noticing that the Penny story, right? The guy in New York who, how far do you go in saying one got all this mainstream coverage and the other one got next to none? How far do you go? How far do you go in noticing that? How far do you go in saying, hey, if he said, I got that white girl, no matter how crazy he was, he was targeting a white girl. Because then you're making excuses for people who murder and saying there's not something wrong with them also. You're like, well, this guy is a fully sane guy, right? Because he didn't, this guy, they're all crazy. If you're murdering someone for no reason on the train, schizophrenia or not, something is wrong with your roof. Nobody does that for no reason. That's the whole point. If you're killing someone for no reason, something is wrong with your roof. If you're killing, that's where the context matters, right? If you're killing someone who broke into your house, you're going, all right, I understand that killing. But if you just slash some girl's throat on the train for no reason and then say, I killed that white girl, you go like, that sounds like a hate crime to me. And then they go, well, he was schizophrenic. And you're going like, okay, well then maybe Daniel Perry had PTSD or whatever his fucking name is, Daniel Penny. So how come there's no sympathy for what he did? He was protecting other passengers, a lot of which were minorities, but you're all up in arms about this guy. And then this happens. I'm not saying even if that was right or wrong. I'm just pointing out, I'm not even having an opinion on it. I'm just saying I see one everywhere. And the other one I had to fucking go to Charlie Kirk's page to hear about. And then, of course, that pours gasoline on the Trump side. And they go, look, look, look. It's so obvious what's happening. What's happening is the obvious truth that undermines your narrative that you do not admit gives fuel to extremists to say it. Because by definitions, that's what extremists do. You're just placing it in their fucking lap and saying, go run with it. Because you don't want to be disliked at your little fucking dinner party in DuPont Circle or Soho or Williamsburg or at your stupid fucking open mic where everyone thinks Matt Rife is Trump. You just give it to them as a gift. You hand the obvious hypocrisy to extremists to use as fuel. It's so obvious. How obvious is that? How obvious is that, right? You turn on CNN, you turn on NBC, they're going like, we don't even know why they did it. We don't know why people are using this for their, you're going, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, you do. You're all Malcolm Gladwell right now. Yes, you do. You know why they're doing it. You know what's really going on. Just say it. Just say it. You're going to get cancer. Doesn't mean you're a racist. It doesn't mean, just say, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. I think it was a hate crime. That's all. I think it was a hate crime. Some girl got killed for no reason because she was white and she sat down. You don't start your fucking news segment talking about the mental illness with empathy. That's not what people who are reasonable of all races and creeds want to hear. Because we have to go out into society. We don't want to hear, oh, let's empathize with the assailant first. They don't want to hear, oh, let's get defensive first. They want to hear you admit, oh, I think this was a hate crime, and boy, maybe something's wrong with our justice system that this guy was on the street. Maybe we're getting a little too empathetic on crime. Maybe this is a reason why fucking people are a little alarmed about Mondami's policy. Maybe if they look at the track record of progressive mayors in Chicago, Seattle, Portland, and a few other places, barring Vermont, and whatever you want to draw about that, you draw. But every progressive mayor has had a problem with crime. Because empathy is endless. And I mean, what are you doing? Where do you set the boundaries when you just go, how has society failed you? And focus on the guy who committed the crime and say, we feel sorry for you. You did this because of systemic, because of systemic, because of social ills, because of mental health problems. Guys, I love me some Cornbread Hemp at cornbreadhemp.com/Yannis. If you're feeling stuck in your daily wellness routine, you're not alone. Okay, the guys over at Cornbread Hemp, or gals as well, okay, they hear you, and they got that organic CBD gummy recipe that makes you feel better. I took a CBD last night, cornbread. I love it. I take them at night sometimes. They're great. They work, all right? Whether it's stress, poor sleep, or just needing a moment to unwind. CBD might be just what you need to level up your daily routine. And Cornbread Hemp is great. They use only the best part of the hemp plant, the flower for the purest and most potent CBD. No fillers, no junk, just full spectrum goodness, guys. So right now they're offering 30% off your first order. Just go to cornbreadhemp.com/Yannis. Use the code Yannis at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Yannis with the promo code Yannis to get 30% off your first order. Now, the hypocrisy on the right with this is very interesting because the people on the right will go, it's mental illness. It's mental illness only. And you're going, well, aren't you doing the same thing kind of what typically is left is doing? It's going like, let's focus on the mental illness. There's a little comparison. I'm saying, yeah, anyone who kills you has a mental health problem. The degree is kind of irrelevant. They've crossed the line and committed a crime. I don't give a fuck if they think the CIA is listening to their phone calls or not. They committed a crime. I don't care if they're in distress in the jail cell. I don't care. They've broken the most sacred social contract and they need to be away. And that's how it goes. So obviously there's a problem with lenient judicial systems letting people out. Catch and release ain't never going to work. I don't care whether you're a fucking Democrat, Republican, woman, or trans, or man. I don't care what you are. It's not going to work. You can work on society to make people less desperate and more sane, but you can't do that at the expense of what it is now. You have to deal with what it is now. It's not mutually exclusive. You can be tough on crime and try. And that's where you just have extremists talking past each other. When you'd like to have people sit down and go, these are both true. These are both true, right? With the gun issue in America, you'd like to go, this is all true. This is all true. AR-15s, maybe we should try to keep them out of 14-year-olds' hands and people who have leaky roofs. Maybe we need a little bit more gun control with that dangerous thing that's very unpredictable and murders people, makes it easy to murder people. Maybe, but also we got a mental health crisis. Also people are radicalized. Also people are poor. Also people have a mental health crisis. Also people, how about we sit down with all the data? But you don't get famous that way, right? You don't get seen that way. Dude, would you sit down to listen to a podcast? Obviously, look how small my podcast is. And I think I often do that. And I'm not even tooting my own horn because there's nothing to toot about. But, you know, someone who kind of espouses what I'm espousing, it's not going to hit people in the right, you know? And if you don't think I could easily just fucking, if you don't, I've actually done it. Like with certain tweets. I've just, you know, it's like you can see how one will get attacked. It's not as difficult as you think to be trending and to be inflammatory. You just have to not care about looking at yourself in the mirror too much. And I'm not just saying that for any other reason besides the fact it is 100% fucking unadulterated, just true. If you don't think a lot of these people don't know what they're doing, you got another thing coming. I've met some of them in private, and then I've seen them on the thing, and I go, those are two different people. You're selling a product that you don't use at home. I mean, did you see Tucker Carlson say, if you want me to sit there and say that Putin is a worse guy than Joe Biden, I'm not going to do it. I mean, we are losing it. And this is supposed to be a guy who like loves America. I mean, what are you talking about, dog? Putin had his own people killed in quite obvious false flag bombings of residential buildings in order to get control of the country. And that's just how it started. Joe Biden is a worse guy than Putin, who regularly, I mean, you remember how up in arms people were about Khashoggi, one journalist that we know of? I'm sure there's plenty more, but one that made it to the news in Saudi Arabia. Dude, that happens in Russia. It's like It's like a Saturday in Russia. He just kills journalists. Opposition journalists are just killed. People fall out of fucking... I mean, this guy just attacked a neighbor and they're murdering civilians and stuff. And he's going, if you want me to say he's a worse guy than Putin, I mean, come on. You cannot like Joe Biden, but he's an American president. He's not killing journalists. Am I wrong? I don't know why you pulled up Kamala Harris turns on Joe Biden in this new book.
I thought you might want to see that.
Yeah, let's see what she says.
I didn't think we should watch
She
it.
turns on him probably because of some political bullshit. Like,
She said it was reckless for him to run for secretary.
yeah, that's what we all think.
Yeah.
Good for that. But pull up the Tucker Carlson. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. I think I could probably pull it up quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, it is mind-blowing. I couldn't believe. I'm going like, what, dude? What is going on? What are we talking about here? I guess it's not that easy to pull up, but give it to me. It won't come up on Instagram where I saw it, but let's try Tucker on Biden and Putin. Oh, fuck. I mean, I don't know how to find it. I'd have to. Anyway, you can find it on your own. That's essentially what he said. No exaggeration, no redeeming quality if you think what I'm saying is reasonable. It's like, all right, dude, let's not go that far. One guy's a dictator. I mean, come on, dude. Come on. Another guy gave up power and walked away. I mean, we're upset because his son, maybe there was some shady dealing in Ukraine. Okay. But I mean, another guy is like a murderer. But, you know, he was just singing his praises to an astonishing level. And that's what we have a lot of right now. It's very performative. It's just radicals. There's radicals everywhere. And I just want to ask you people, no comedy for a second, or if you've been listening to this for 45 minutes, but does this ring a bell? Right? TikTok's goal was to weaponize sex appeal music, herd psychology, and unconscious drives, not just to hook users, but to push Western platforms to copy the model and psychologically wreck everyone on it. Nothing has supercharged extremists more than hijacking trending names and searches to spread their harangues and lies. They don't need to build an audience from scratch. They just hijack trending searches, hashtags, or names because the algorithm rewards emotion and engagement. Their lies and rants get a free ride to mass exposure. That's why radical content can feel like it's everywhere. The system incentivizes outrage and spectacle. And then I go on to say, as Edward Bernays understood from Freud's discoveries, go Google who that is if you don't know. He's the father of PR, and he used Freudian methods, which kind of proves Freud was right because it worked over and over and over again. As Edward Bernays understood from Freud's discoveries, humans aren't rational actors. We're driven by unconscious urges to belong. That vulnerability makes us remarkably easy to manipulate. Social media works because it exploits our unconscious need to fit in, compare, and not miss out. This era of the internet has turned us into dopamine junkies, addicts of attention theft, begging for validation in an economy built on distraction. The TikTok algorithm isn't allowed in China because they know what it does. Does that ring a bell? So I'm just saying maybe there's a correlation with how dense it's been recently in assassination attempts and maybe assassinations and assassinations. It's been pretty dense. It's been only what, a year? And we've had 3? We've had 3 high profile ones. That's fucking crazy. That is fucking crazy. And then you get online and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? There's Nazis everywhere. What the fuck? And then you go, oh, wow, There's communists everywhere again. And if you're a person who happens to think that those things are radical, that used to be pretty much almost everyone who thought those are radical solutions. Because we have some data, and also we all have a gut. We all have a individual insight underneath the mask that we have created, driven by our nervous system to survive in the world. Behind that persona, you have a you. I think we're getting farther away from that you and more into that mask. And everyone goes online and they become the mask. And what happens when you become the mask? You become the victim of audience capture, right? What does my audience want? What got the most hits? Let me double down and do that again. And then the next thing you know, inevitably, you jump the shark. You start obsessing over the Prime Minister of France's wife's gender. You start getting really lost in old conspiracy theories, Elder of Zion lies. Not saying Israel's action, hasn't bred that, because it has. But to also say that it wasn't underneath the surface is also myopic. You just start getting lost in these, the people who are doing it, in the persona of these simple solutions to complex problems, which is what extremists do. And you become susceptible to listening to those people. And it's just extremism everywhere. Everything's extreme. It's just extreme. Because a fucking minute to a minute clip, a minute to a minute 30 clip is fucking extreme. You're asking people to switch their attention span, fucking, and keep scrolling. It's all extreme. It's all extreme. Right? Now people's mood swings are extreme. Kids in depression at a level, everything is extreme and sped up because something's going on. We've opened ourselves up. We have no firewall. It used to be you got information that was disseminated to you by one interest, and money was flowing one way, right? And at least that interest was, hey, America's great, right? Now we're opened up to any interest out there that can funnel money. And we've seen the money flow. We've heard about the money flowing to certain areas, certain things, unknowingly and knowingly. We've just seen, you're starting to hear these messages, you're starting to hear these perspectives, you're starting to hear this stuff that's going like, wow, Tucker, what do you, and you go like, well, he can have his opinion. I mean, he can have his opinion, right? I mean, sure. I mean, he can have, I don't know, right? But then you go like, he had a different opinion like a year ago. It's like, so it's not just like, you're going like, that is pretty uncharacteristic, right? So you're going like, is that just organic? Maybe. It could be. But what is organic anymore when an algorithm is conditioning you? Even at the very least, the algorithm is rewarding you with the numbers that you seek when you say certain things that are kind of, at the very least, hasty generalizations, right? Putin, if you want me to say that Joe Biden is a better guy than Vladimir Putin, I'm not going to say it. That's something, if someone said to me at a party, I'd be like, all right, you're just being a dick, man. I'd be like, I'd just be like, all right, dude. Like, it's something how I would start a bit. I'd start a bit. And I go, Putin's a better guy than Joe Biden because. Does anyone care about weak windows anymore? That industry has been underserved. Don't we want to repair windows and support the people who work in the repair window sector? That would be my joke. Until you can pin murder on Joe Biden on citizens in America, I'm going to say probably Putin might be a worse guy. Who would you, okay, and I know you're thinking, I know you're going, how come I sending money and people are dying? I get it. Adults used to get it. Let me ask you an honest question. If you were left alone with Joe Biden and Putin, and someone said, give him all your opinions, talk freely, man, which one would you be more scared to do so at? And I know you're sitting there thinking, I would be more scared of Biden. Would you really? What, is he going to put you in prison? What is he going to do? You're going to get put in prison? I mean, just look at what people have been saying about Joe Biden for 4 years. Go in Russia and see if anybody's doing that. Go in Russia and see if, and you go, that's because they really like that guy. They really love what he's doing. People don't understand anymore, like, simple things. How certain people control things through fear and certain people are subject to rule of law. I mean, it's like, whoa, what is going on here? You know, in Nepal, all the fucking Gen Zers just rebelled against an authoritarian regime. People don't like it. Eventually, you know, the roosts come home. What is it called? The roost comes home to bear?
Chickens come home to roost.
The chickens come home to roost eventually for these figures throughout history. At some point, they get hung upside down, and then someone pees on their head or spits in their upside down face. At one time, Mussolini was a very popular guy. Do you remember how popular Saddam Hussein was? Didn't he win his election? I think it was like unprecedented 98%. We used to value that we had different opinions and that if a guy won by 54% or 51%, we thought that was a healthy thing. We thought, you know, term limits, all these things were healthy things, checks and balances. Oh, now we're praising a guy who has single-handedly created a system, hijacked a system to stay in power, who's breached borders and invaded, and they go, well, look at what you did in Afghanistan. Yeah, okay, you're making a point. Maybe you have a point as well. Maybe it's the same thing, just different. Maybe I'm just conditioned and brainwashed by that old school media dissemination machine that said, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman are happy. Don't look at the actors, look at the characters. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're like, listen, Michael Jackson makes music. Whatever fuel he needs is between him and a little boy's mother. Maybe it was from a more naive time. Maybe you're saying, hey, did you like Pulp Fiction? End your line of questioning there. Maybe I did grow up on that. Don't ask about transactional sex. Maybe. Maybe you're right. But wasn't it a little simpler? Shouldn't we all put our heads back in the sand and get back to, hey, are we going for pizza tonight? That's enough. Hey, nobody even has any movies to go to anymore. There's no events outside that they can go to and have a collective experience without worrying about being machine gun shot. Because now they've gone into schools, churches, movie theaters, supermarkets. Where else? Dude, I'm telling you, it's always a little in the back of your mind, unfortunately. So what we have to do is take guns from trans people. That was floated by Trump. And you go, well, I can't help but see the hypocrisy in that. But, and then the emphasis on trans. There have been some trans shooters recently. But overall, when you look at it, if you were going to use that logic, you'd really want to take the guns from the white men because that is their game. I mean, statistically. And a lot of those guys like to use statistics. And they go, look at the black crime per capita. And you're going, all right, if we're going to go by the stats, then white men can have a Noah gunnies. What?
Charlie Kirk died.
Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's very tragic. The whole thing's very tragic. This extremist vibe is very tragic, and that's extremely sad. This is a guy who had a family and who had kids, and I don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. I don't know what's going to happen going forward. But I hope, God, hope is such a terrible thing to have, right? Because usually it just doesn't work. Because if you need hope, it means it's unlikely. You ever think about that? If you need hope, it's like, it's probably unlikely. But, miracles do happen. Hopefully people will start seeing through the conditioning that has turned us into this from foreign actors. We'll start seeing the commonality that we all share and start seeking out more nuanced discussions. Stop before you cut your opinion of what someone says with your need to be seen or heard or your unstable emotional state. You take a second and check yourself and say, what unconscious drives from my childhood are leading me to yell? That's about it. Stop fucking yelling. Except for me. I want a monopoly on yelling. But this is just my quixotic, egomaniacal fucking way of thinking I can make a change for good. We're not interested in that. We've never have been. I don't know if we ever will be. AI might change that, but the information is out there, if you synthesize it the right way, on how being more evolved is working on yourself, checking your demons, not running from your shadow, because this is just an amalgamation of a bunch of individuals who got leaky roofs. That's what's going on. We're at the point where a lot of people are pointing the finger out and they're not checking the roof, right? You're looking at someone else's house when there's water dripping in your kitchen. And that's what's going on. Because this guy who shot and killed Charlie Kirk is going to be a fucking maniac. He's going to have fucking manifestos, opinions. The same thing with that Luigi guy that everyone, likes to admire. Because the healthcare, again, you can hate the healthcare system. You could understand some of the points he said are true, but you're supposed to also reject what he did. And you also could say, look at the online time the guy spent, the fucking manifesto shit he was writing. I mean, he had a leaky roof. His roof was a little leaky. He had some back problems. The healthcare system wasn't taking care of him. And it's weird because he had all the money in the world to fix it. So, it's a leaky roof. John Brown, right? Ultimately, his cause was good, but he went and killed some people. The whole thing's bad. I mean, two things can be right at the same time. John Brown, in another time, would have ended up, putting his dick in mashed potatoes. He was a leaky roof kind of guy. And we're leaving the fate of our country to leaky roof people because of one simple fact that I will repeat and end this episode on. If there's one thing I want you to take from this episode, it is simply what has happened is people will not admit a fact, an obvious truth, a reasonable truth. They will not admit it. They will not agree with it. They will not say it for fear of ostracization, being ostracized, or whatever. That clearly undermines something they said before or their overall narrative. They will not admit it. Those are the things that if you admit, those are olive branches that get extended to the other side. Because the other side agrees, but when you don't, they start screaming, and then you leave it as a layup. You drop it, not even a layup. You just drop it on the ground for an extremist to pick up and run with. That's the anatomy of where we are. Unfortunately, we're living in those horrific, vile consequences. So come to my shows, and I'll fix it all with humor. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just throwing ideas out there because I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to get an audience through audience capture by doubling down, which is something I don't think I do, right? I kind of just switch it up all the time. And maybe that'll be something I'll be proud of one day. And maybe that's something people will say, I wish there was a little bit more of that. I wish there was someone out there who I liked listening to, who I disagreed with, who sometimes made me feel uncomfortable, but also entertained me, or not. It's up to you. Was this all just a ploy for me to convince people to watch this more? Am I trying to build a brand? A guy who farts but also tries to give it to you straight? Oh, I'm saying this is just a horrible thing. And Charlie Kirk is someone I've made fun of. And this is just a horrible thing. It actually genuinely makes me sad. It's a horrific thing. It's a horrific thing. And I'd feel bad for anyone this happened to. So it's a sad day in America. And I hate the healthcare system more than anyone. I hate it just as much as you. I think I'm actually more a socialist when it comes to the healthcare system. And that's me pulling the veil back a little bit just to admit something. I just think Medicare for all is just a noble thing, and I think there's ways to fix it by cutting down defense spending, whatever. I could be wrong. I don't know enough, but I have empathy for people that are sick. I also think you have to have health incentives so you don't just get, people who are, hypochondriacs just running up the bill. There needs to be things in place, rules. That's what referees are for. You can't just have a bleeding heart because bleeding hearts are just endless. You need common sense checks. But I think what Luigi did was horrendous. And it made me sad because that guy had a family. That guy had kids, And I just don't want to see a bunch of people who have nothing to live for, no relatives that they care about, or who can't feel empathy themselves going out there, controlling the narrative and starting to take extreme action, which unfortunately we see. So hopefully something's done about that. But also catch me at Bananas in New Jersey. The many faces of Yannis Pappas. In 2 days, I'll have a wig on. All right, I want to give a shout out to forthefree.art, music in Hawaii. Check out the bands that they list and the shows. It's a great website. Also want to give a shout out to IndigoLabsAgency.com. Also check out Nate Linder's podcast, Entrepreneurship Unlocked with Nate Linder. He interviews entrepreneurs from all over the world, independent doctors, international touring artists. Very interesting stuff. Also, he's a social media marketer. You pay him, and he does things for you, which is great. Honest business talk, marketing, IndigoLabsAgency.com. Also want to give a shout out to rebelsraiders.com, rebels-raiders.com, raising money to cover the legal costs for this animal rescue, Charlotte's Hills Farm Sanctuary in New Jersey. It's under attack again. This kid loves animals. The state's trying to force them off their land, this time by drowning them in legal fees. They already beat back one tax bill, and now it's a legal squeeze, to reclassify the land, call it commercial. That usual zoning stuff. This kid's got a heart. Go check him out. The owner's giving away money too. So go check it out at rebels-raiders.com if you love animals. PCB Tech Art, go buy their wireless charger for your car, on your vehicle. Go shop PCBTechArt.com. You can find them on Amazon. They've helped over 10,000 customers fix their charging issues. Go get that charger. Use the new code Yannis15 for 15% off and fix your wireless charging issues today.